Good morning, Soft Power Universe. It's me, Siobhan, joined by Squishy Gru today. And you are now, well, you're not tapped in yet. Someone else is going to tap us in. But we are here for Moonday Grounding. Welcome, welcome. We are Soft Power. This is our weekly Monday stream where we ground into the week, stay connected as a team, and with y'all in the chat. So, welcome. Let us know if you're here in the energy bank. And thanks for joining us.
Hello, everyone. I hope everyone had a restful weekend. This week, we have choir tonight, and so I'm already thinking about using my voice a lot more today, and so getting us ready to vocal tone and open up the space to ground today, and just setting intentions for just receiving any energies and support that that we need to feel resourced and to feel sustained in this week as we continue to just see things unfold before us, and just reminding ourselves to connect with our breath, connect with our body, and connect with our voices to continue to build that resiliency to show up in these times that can be so challenging. So today we'll start with our sound that's connected to the root system, just calling in that nourishing, grounded support. Wherever you're at, feel free to exhale, inhaling in through the nose, and releasing. Feel free to wander, either matching pitch, harmonizing with the pitch, or improvising. And sharing gratitude with ourselves and one another, whether you're watching this live or the replay, for showing up and tapping into your soft power today. So one more time. You are now tapped into the soft power frequency.
Thank you, Kiki. Thank you, Siobhan. Thank you, everyone, for being here this morning. So I have our weekly card pull, and it's very fitting for the edge of this Mars retrograde, which is integrating. I keep pulling this card. Of course, it keeps coming. And the bones associates, this is from Ashley Stinson's Energy Archaeology deck that I've been pulling from and really resonating with. And so the bones associated with this are the humerus and femur bones, which are the largest bones in our arms and our legs. So according to Ashley's framework, inspiration comes up into the body, into these largest bones of our body, to integrate into the materiality of the rest of our body, into our being. And so I really like what they said here. It says, integration is the true essence of embodiment. Until it is integrated, nothing that you call in, desire, or dream can be made manifest. And you cannot integrate it until you can be with it. Root, ground, center, pause the pushing, trying, doing, striving, and even if just for a moment, settle into the state of being. Feel all of the forms of energy that are swirling around you. How can you receive them, offer them, be supported by them, or activate your purpose through them if they are external to you? Use a state of stillness to welcome them in through slowness. And just really, it says, intentionally make room for integration in your life, and your body will stop finding ways to do it for you. Sense the shifting rhythm in your bones. Be with the changing desires. Celebrate all of the ways your body is making room for something new. Have gratitude for the wisdom of the humerus and femur as they guide this process within your foundational energy. Your life will drastically change when you are still long enough to be moved. And that is literally the message of a Mars retrograde in Cancer, which is its sign of fall, is there is going to be Mars is like taking action. It is like the sword. It is aggression. It is sex. It is like how we move forward in the world. And in Cancer, which is cardinal water, it's like very, you know, that sense of action can come from like an emotional state, can come from a lot of maybe not the most like direct ways that you can be acting. And so and especially in retrograde, it's like appearing to move backwards. So that's really the vibe right now, is like I feel like I keep wanting to like move forward, or I put something out there, and then it's just like I'm not really even wanting to act on like receiving what's coming in, because I'm still not quite rooted in like integrating my why yet. And so that's just an invitation. I think this card is an invitation to just move with the energy that's here, which is calling us to integrate further, to really make intentional moves when we really get out of retrograde, which is not, we're not, it's not yet. So yeah, I love this reminder to just move and know that like that is like very anti-capitalist, to just be like, yeah, this isn't necessarily the time that we're gonna be able to like do a ton of things. It's time to really slow down and take it as it goes, as it flows. Pay attention to our feelings, integrate how those emotions are showing up in the body. Make sure we're taking the lessons we've learned in the past so we don't repeat them again. Anything that we don't want to repeat again. And that's the message.
Okay, I'm up next. Hi everyone, I'm Flo. I'm going to lead us through a short Qigong practice, and I invite you all to rise and stand with me. So you can widen your stance and ground your feet into the earth. And we're going to start with a light Qigong shake. So Qigong refers to energy work and Chinese medicine. So just start to lightly shake, lightly bounce. Exhale out the mouth. Let's pair the breath with our voices and releasing the sound. Sending the breath down to your feet, bringing the shaking and the vibrations up to the shoulders. Bring your arms, your branches up to the sky. Shake your hands. You can shake and twist. Release the arms, shake and twist. Let yourself get loose. Loosening up the joints, waking up the body. You can shake the hips, a little torso twist. So we're shaking to let go. Let go of any stress and stagnation, any stagnant energy, so that we can make space for newness, make space for our intentions, for our rest, for our creativity. Slow it down, and now we're going to start to lightly tap and swipe down the body. So lightly tap the heart, swipe down the arms, tap, 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 and swipe. Tapping down the hips, your pelvis region. This is where our life force energy sits, our sexual creative energy. Tapping the low back, swiping down the legs, knocking life into our bodies. Let's stomp our feet 5 times, or however many times you want. And then we're going to close our practice with a gentle massage. Just massaging our necks, our head, our ears, massaging the clavicle, the shoulders, the heart space. Gently massaging our bodies to integrate all of the work that we've been doing in our lives on ourselves. Massage all the way down your low back, your legs, gently exfoliating your fascia, your connective tissues, your muscles, and ending our practice with a gentle foot massage. Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Flo. Thank you, Midori. Thank you, Dr. Kiki. Thank you, Siobhan. My name is Nathaniel. I use they, them pronouns. And I am here to just give space and curate conversation, which I do each week. And this is the final week that Mars is officially in its retrograde path. It stations direct on Sunday. We'll still have a shadow period, and there's still an opposition to Pluto that's like just not gonna be changing for a while. So anyway, all that to say, yes, it's the end, and also it's not the end. But that said, when it goes direct, there still may be like moments of clarity or just like big kind of like, oh, and ahas, and like, so you may feel that shift, you may not. It just kind of depends on what's going on in your your world and what you're tapped into. But also we've got Mercury and Venus stationing retrograde in a few weeks. And so, you know, it's just a lot of stuff going on. And I just like to think that the lessons that we learned from these past 2.5 months of Mars retrograde are really, really important as we continue facing like what is ahead, which is kind of some scary things. So, you know, I really was just kind of tapping into like that for myself yesterday and did some writing associated with like what this retrograde has been teaching me. And yeah, I just wanted to kind of bring that to the forefront of this conversation today with each of our SPT members, because I think everyone here I know is like extremely reflective and very tapped in and always thinking about their spiritual paths and journeys and growth. And so, you know, retrogrades are a time of reflection. And I think I love, one of the many things I love about astrology is just that like there's sort of these like marked periods of like a container to reflect upon. And I really love that. Like I love being able to be like, oh, okay, so from like December to now, what's kind of been percolating, what's been going on. And I can go back in my journal and look at those months and be like, oh, I see the themes. I see like what I've been going through. And I think for me, astrology, it is about looking forward, but so much of it for me is also about looking back and looking at patterning and looking at like what is happening at different times and what does that reveal to me about myself. And so the question that I'm sort of posing to the crew today is just essentially like, what has this retrograde been teaching you specifically as it relates to like your life force in relationship to collective liberation, world building work? I think that we're in a period that really looks to, or like gives us a lot of information about like what our unique role is in all of this. And as people who are like committed to our own self-creation and protecting other people's space and ability and access to create, I know that's like a big aim of what we do as self-power. I thought this was something really important to like really talk about. I think for myself, I feel like this time has been very sharpening and getting me sort of like from this view to like laser focused view of like where I'm headed, what I'm doing, to get really, really focused on being where I'm supposed to be and doing what I'm supposed to do, and kind of letting everything else fall to the wayside, knowing that, you know, not all journeys are mine, and I'm not here to save anybody, and I'm not here waiting for a savior. I'm just here to like follow my path, and that's what I'm committed to. And so I definitely feel like, you know, I also have just been reflecting on like my year as a whole, like from this time last year to now, and just like the journey that this has taken me to like continue to get this hyper. It's just a lot about clarity and a lot about like sharpening, and it's been just like getting really clear on and focused on what my goals are and path and purpose. And so I always share first, and so I'll start out. You know, I think that I've been really evaluating like my relationship to technology, especially once I started working again with the soft power team and like created my little desk area to like do work. I found myself really like at my desk a lot and on my computer a lot, and that sent me down a whole lot of like spaces that I think really got me distracted. And like I was sharing, I think with Midori one time, like I need to form a different relationship with my laptop. Like this is just not working for me. And I also was feeling similarly about my cell phone. I haven't been on social media for almost a year now, but I still was just feeling like I check it a lot, or I'm just kind of on it a lot, or it's just like it's in my, I don't know, just feeling a lot of like technology energy that I was like not about. And so over the past couple of weeks, I've transitioned to like a literal flip phone that they make for like old people. It's like the numbers are huge and it's like really gigantic. And yeah, it's literally just, it's not a smartphone, it's just a flip phone. And I also got a tablet. And that has like totally transformed like how I'm moving, like how technology works in my life and what I'm using each thing for, and has really helped me like focus on being present where I am. Because I can't really like get like, sometimes I get text messages on my flip phone, but not for real. Like they don't usually come through. It's just kind of funny at this point and comical. So I just feel like the last week or so has been really great for me to get focused on what I have, because as I have like received all the things that I asked for from my guides, my life got really overwhelming. And there's a couple of weeks where I felt like I couldn't keep up with the pace of like all the things that I wanted in my life to pursue as a writer, to be working as a producer with this crew, to be accountable to the community I have here in my home city of Long Beach, and also a new caretaking position that I took on and felt really accountable to that. So I had and then plus my coaching business. So I had all these things that I felt really accountable to and I really wanted to be invested in, but I was feeling really overwhelmed. And so I feel like I knew I needed to get focused and just be like, okay, like where I am is where I am. And that's, I don't need to be thinking about anything else. And yeah, just kind of like getting away from technology or like fully changing my relationship to it has really helped me ground and be centered in like where I am. And like this weekend was awesome because I like read a whole book on Saturday, and yesterday I held a bunch of writing, and I just feel very like I'm not being pulled in all these places. I'm just kind of like directly headed where I'm supposed to be. And when I was doing my tarot pool this morning, the sort of like question, I asked a question around like, what is like a thing that this Mars retrograde really wants me to remember? And I got a card that was basically telling me like, now is not the time to act and rest. And I was like, right. Like, and so just thinking about what Midori was sharing of like, you know, Mars retrograde is very much about not doing things and just really reflecting. And even when Mars isn't retrograding, that is a practice that I want to have. I want to be really discerning about when I take action and what is leading me to take action, and really be, yeah, just like in a wisdom space inside of that. And I think one thing that really came up as a theme through this time was like releasing expectations created from past stories that I've held, and how like stories and experiences from the past have led me to expect things that are built on that narrative. And then, you know, sometimes we just like make our fears come true, or sometimes we move in ways that like was in alignment with that past. And so that's what happens. And so I'm really like sitting with like the stories that I hold that sit on my shelf that are my story, but they don't inform my decisions. They don't like make me move or push me to move in a certain way. that is something that is really like helping me sit with like, this is how I rewire my nervous system. This is how I like approach things different and like create new patterns, is by recognizing these moments when I'm letting an old narrative that isn't true guide me. And then I think the other thing that really comes up for me is that I am the bearer of my dream and it deserves my confidence. I am someone who like struggles a lot with self-confidence, and it's all up in my chart, and just like self-worthiness. And, you know, I think something that really helped me, or is helping me, I think I'm still in this process, like develop that confidence, is just remembering like how big and important my dream is, and that like being confident in it is like a part of fulfilling it. And I want to be accountable to holding that dream. And so I want to be confident that I can and move in a way that shows that. And so that is surely a work in progress, but those are kind of my big reflections. I have some others, but I think that's where I'll stop for now. And yeah, I would love, is there a human that's like feeling particularly excited to kick us off? I feel like it's Siobhan.
I saw Kiki raise her hand, but Kiki and I always go back to back, so I love that. So I'm up first today. Well, second. Thank you, Nathaniel. Resonating with a lot of that. Although the flip for me has actually been a pull to show up more and to stop like back and forthing myself on social media, because, and I actually said that to Midori earlier, like I finally like decisively was like, you're here, so show up. And there's something about this moment for me in showing up online and in this way that is right for my life force. And that is something that I've been kind of sitting with this past year. This retrograde has really, I have a Cancer sun and Mercury and Chiron and the 7th, 8th house areas, and a lot of the team scene behind the scene, a lot of relational things that do impact my energy. And that has been like the big lesson for me, that I do feel like I have been getting affirmations just in the last literally couple days, that I've really detached my nervous system from this very like enmeshed or codependent, is what I've learned through therapy, but yeah, like enmeshed family system that I came from, which is like a big house of, you know, I'm number 3 of 4 siblings, parents, nibblings. I have been in this push and pull. I mean, really wider for me is like Saturn and Pisces has been in my 3rd and 4th house. And this push and pull of how I want to be part of my family of origin. And it's directly connected to my life force, because I, for those who are not really familiar with codependency, I know that term's used a lot, but the way I understand it is like not having the like basically my emotional and my nervous system body like being wrapped up and so intertwined with the others around me, and not quite knowing where my feelings end and feeling responsible for others' feelings. Also feeling so like I had to be seen and heard and advocate for my inner parts and inner family system. Um, and so a big challenge for me has been feeling like I'm so like on a roll, I'm ready, I'm about to whatever, and then something happens with the people around me that just derails me and then sends me into this cycle of frustration and disempowerment, and just being consumed by this in ways that I really had to detach my physical energy from, because it just drains me, and it fed into something I've talked about a lot on streams, which is this inner narrative that I'm not well enough to handle what I've been called to, because my real, like, what I entered into, how I even met the soft power team was as a birth doula. And that requires a lot of tending to your vitality. And that's where I first learned to do that. And that's what kind of like propelled me into this necessary assessment and recalibration of where I source my energy from and how I tend to that, because I was on call. And I've talked a lot about going through some of the biggest, hardest things of my life while being on call as a doula, and even built mentorships off of how proud I was that I was able to really show up and really keep going. And the thing that I really learned in the last year was that a lot of that ability to show up was still intertwined with this need to like be in motion. And when I made those first steps to remove myself from a marriage that was impacting my, like, deteriorating my life force, and even just seeing like my face months after leaving my marriage and how much more alive I looked was so telling, because you could see that I was like literally being drained. And I noticed that happening again last year. I think like the physical piece is important. I didn't really have a lot of mirrors in my last home, and right now where I live has like huge mirrors, like full wall closet mirrors, and it's actually really important, I'm realizing, for myself to like get this glimpse. I have a first house Neptune, and so it's really hard to see myself and to like I'm just a Jupiter rising, so I'm also like very shape shifting and fluctuating in my appearance and how I present. Do you need help with something? Could I have like 5 more minutes of I have my son here. Are you okay?
Yes.
Yeah, why don't you take that? You could take it. Okay. He wants the iPad. Go for it. Yeah, so tending to my life force this retrograde has been a deep honesty of how I've changed since becoming a mom, and all these ways. Literally taking iron supplements has been a big one, like as simple as taking iron supplements recently. Those kind of things, like what are the supplements, like prioritizing my sunshine and movement, and preparing my food. Those are the things that can really easily fall to the wayside, especially living with other people. That's one way that I realized my codependency is like shows up too, is like with food and what I eat when I'm around other people. And so it's even just a practice of having what I want for a meal and eating when I'm personally hungry is actually like it may sound silly, but just being in a home, like that's been a Mars retrograde healing. And so yeah, my energy, one, tending to it, and then two, that honesty, like I started with around how I'm showing up online. I've actually accepted that this is the way I can show up, and to continue to dissolve the hierarchy that showing up to organize online and hold space online is not enough, because it's the only way that I can show up right now reliably. I really can't. I think I've accepted that at this time in my life, I cannot reliably show up IRL the ways that I used to. And it's been really hard. It's taken a lot of grief, because I used to be a very active, just very actively organizing and at things. And it's really, really grinded me to a halt in a way that impacted my self-esteem, confronted my own, like I said, hierarchies about what is valid. And I think that what's supported that also during this retrograde, I actually have been studying hypnosis. I'm on an ongoing study of hypnosis, and that's really supported to validate the reality and the potential of material impact of virtual work, of energetic work, in a way that I'm seeing is my bag. That when people tell me that that my meditations or my trance journeys like hit different, like actually receiving that and digging into why that is, and seeing that it's because of these ways that I drop into it that are actually felt. And it's very like Cancer Mercury 8th house, of the way that I work, but really like owning it, like, yeah, this actually can really, and already has impacted people's lives in immaterial ways. And so just continuing to believe my own self, continuing to believe that what I do matters. That's where I've been. And I've had a really big confidence boost and shedding of these things that have been blocking me for some of them my whole life in the last few years. Especially like things, you know, just like believing that I'm talented in some ways. And so other ways of life, like life force preservation, was like going in on building that notion. And y'all know I had that like week where I was so in there, and I like want to get back to that. Right now it's not the best timing for it, but like really seeing like, okay, like systems that can support people, I don't know, just adding more system, leaning on technology, incorporating certain things that can free time for creativity, and not the kind of technology that's just like copping out of the things that I do. Like I decided to do away with ChatGPT. I played with it for a while, played with the ways that it could help prompt me or structure my writing, and then I was like, this is not the way I really want to use this. There's something sacred in my editing process and all of this stuff, but there are other tools that do help me, like otter transcribing and giving me that breakdown. Like that feels right. And so staying open, staying curious, and staying gentle with myself, and really embracing this era that I'm stepping into, and knowing that it won't last forever, but right now it's still, it really is where I'm being called to share my story, to be less about where I can be in physical service, and to trust that right now my service is to accept myself and to share that publicly through social media, and to share that example of what it looks like to listen to my intuition, to shamelessly share my story. And that's just the era that I'm in right now. So yeah, thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Siobhan. As always, so many like deep nuggets of wisdom to just like sit with, and just resonating so deeply with so much of what you shared, and just affirming that like your presence is the gift, and like the way that you show up and the way that you process and your vulnerability that you always bring is, there's just like, that's where so much of the magic lies. So I love to hear the ways that that is like resonating for you in terms of like being present on social media and being present in this space in the ways that you do. Because also like, obviously I'm not on social media, but sometimes y'all share like things that Siobhan writes, I think on, I forget whatever Instagram's Twitter is, but that thing. Yeah, I'm old, whatever. And so anyway, but those are always just like so cheeky and funny and like profound, and like, so I'm just like, yeah, please continue doing that and being that. And if you are someone who's feeling called to that space, like that is a space that needs your voice. And I just always appreciate like, yeah, just how vulnerable you are in your process in life. There's so much like beauty in the truth telling component, and that you offer. So chinchu. All right, Kiki, since you raised your hand, you could go next.
Yeah, of course. Straight A student raising my hand to go next. But I'm so glad Siobhan went first, because just again, like uplifting everything that you shared, Siobhan, because we truly are mirroring one another. And you've been my doula since even before my daughter was born, and you continue to be a doula as you share your story and really lead the way in this heart opening way that you do as a Cancer sun, and all the ways that you care for us and show up for us as one of the co-founding mothers here. It really is so inspiring to have someone like you, a mother, a confidant in our team that really allows themselves to be so open so that we can all follow your lead. So there's so many things I just want to be able to say yes, yes, yes to things that you shared, but I'm going to say basically everything Siobhan said, yes, is how I'm feeling. And I'm going to add on to it, to just what I was feeling into when talking about this like self-love and acceptance of where I've been at with this creative process. Because if the Church of Soft Power is really about the spirits of creativity, I think that's where this Mars retrograde is really leading me through the Leo of that inner child creativity, and then moving that into Cancer, which is the home and the emotional support. And so I think there's this balance that I'm learning, that what is actually needed for me to sustain my life force is that emotional support in where I feel the most safe and the most grounded. And that's really based on my 4th house placements in Leo. And how I really have been showing up now and resonating with Siobhan since the pandemic. You know, I was out doing my choral conducting, I was out with choirs, I was traveling, I was presenting on papers all over the world. And with the pandemic and having a daughter, so much has changed with just kind of the daily routine, and feeling like I have isolated myself so much. And so trying to find that balance of being seen and witnessed while also staying rooted, knowing that that is also really what's needed for me to be able to create and show up. And so really thinking of my creativity as an expression of self-love, I think that's really shifted since shifting my vocal practice from something that was created and founded for an entertainment purpose, like putting choirs on a stage to perform and entertain and get applause, versus a practice that is an internal way to connect with my agency and my voice and my intuition. And so I feel like in the last 5 years, we're at this point where I'm really seeing how that intention of my vocal practice, that shift, has changed the entirety of like the way that I narrate my life, because I'm not using my creativity as an escape, but I'm using my creativity as a way to fill up my cup and fill up my cup for myself first. And that's still a work in progress, right? Because we live in the world that we do. I still can continue to struggle with like people pleasing and productivity and codependency and wanting to show up for others when I'm not my cup is not full. And so it's really, I'm at this point where I think we're right around Valentine's Day. We've been talking about love a lot. We had the amazing Love Salon stream last Friday with Siobhan and Midori. And so just thinking of like, what is that frequency of love that I need to tap into, and that isn't actually in my life right now? Where are those areas that I can love myself more? And that is coming through like using my voice to say what are my needs. I think even like pre-2020, even though I was a vocalist and singing all the time, I didn't have the relationship with my voice to speak authentically and to speak to my needs and to speak what was truly me. I was speaking to the expectations that I was hearing in my head from others. So again, just like that codependency and inability to hear what is truly me. And so feeling at this time, this retrograde is really having me reflect on that creative process and how the creativity and healing practice of working with the voice has been such a magical healing process for me, because of this point where I'm now at, where I'm saying things and expressing myself in ways that I never really imagined being able to, and actually didn't even know that these were needs and desires that I needed to express. And so really feeling into this frequency of love, that if I really focus on what is aligned with me, and I give that, and I open myself to also receive that aligned love, that's where that magic can really happen, because you are truly moving in a place that is reciprocal. And I think sometimes it just requires that reflection of what is true alignment. And that's where I come to the Church of Soft Power. I see and hear stories of other people leaning in and tapping into their soft power. And I say, I see something that I strive to have in my life. I strive to be more open. I strive to be softer. I strive to be grounded and clear with my communication and trust myself. And so when I come back here, this is what also fills up my cup to be able to then take this out into the real world. And so what we do virtually is so incredibly powerful and potent. because this has been the only place where I've been able to show up and speak my truth from day one, and feel really seen in that. Whereas maybe people in my real life are just kind of catching up to some of the growth that has been occurring. And so this integration process has been really taking a moment of reckoning, I think, where it's like, okay, are you going to fully integrate this, or are you going to run away from what you've learned? And so there's still those moments of like wanting to run and say, oh, maybe I feel more safe in something that's more comfortable, because that's what I've grown to know is who I am. But that's where this alter ego comes in. And I see this alter ego wanting to be seen and witnessed and loved in new and different ways. And by even showing up as Monarch Frequency or Dr. Kinky, I am already receiving that medicine as Kiernan, as Kiki, and being able to then embody that in my life and in my relationships. That feels really really potent and really powerful right now. So I'm just excited to keep gathering this month, next month, through Alter Ego, to continue these conversations and how our creativity is feeding and nourishing self-love for us to continue showing up as our authentic selves.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Kiki. Really resonating with a lot of that as well. And yeah, I think especially just that piece around like cultivating like an honesty within yourself to like know your needs, and then an honesty and authenticity in your relationships to name those needs. And that is a lot of work, and you know, it can create a lot of conflict in relationships, but conflict can be extremely generative and deepen things. And I'm just really like appreciative of that practice. And I love also the note of like, and when I can't see it myself, I have like a container to go to see it in other people to help reflect it back to me. And I think that's just like an act, like sort of that, there's that, like, we've been talking a lot about codependency, and I just love that, like, honoring the truth of that, of like, yes, I love myself. I like, I'm honest about my needs and what I want. And like, I move in that place, right? Like that's but, and also that doesn't mean I don't need support, and like, I don't, right? So like, I just really appreciate the naming of that inside of a codependency patterning, to be like, that doesn't mean I don't go to other people's stuff, like, right? So I really love that, and just really celebrating that journey for you. Flo, would you like to go next? You're muted.
Thank you very much. I was just culling over here. Messages, stay open. Stay open. Okay, so I reflected this morning, and I'm just going to share what I wrote. This has been a very nourishing conversation to be part of. Thank you, everyone, for sharing. So what has the last few months taught me about life force and my role in collective liberation? That all of my creative ambitions needs to be met with strategy and how I use my energy, and with direction and support in decision making, and with copious amounts of rest. So since incorporating daily energy healing practices into my life, such as Qigong, which is an ancient Chinese energy healing modality that involves techniques like tapping, shaking, what we did earlier, internal organ massages, vocalization, visualization, to help clear stagnant energy, right? And to help clear and transmute Jing. And Jing refers to our sexual energy in our bodies. But because we live in a fast-paced, stressful society, our Jing energy has been disrupted by stress, constant, ongoing stress. And so the Jing energy in our bodies has been mixed with stagnation, heaviness, such as shame, fear, anxiety, depression. And so for me, through Qigong and my other practices, such as like fluid movement, intuitive movement, like learning how to listen to my body and like give it what it like give the shape that it needs to express what's been held in my body. So like a lot of releasing tension. Through this work of energy work and cultivation, I've been able to like, transmute the Jing energy into Qi, which refers to life force, life force vital energy. And I've noticed a big difference in my mood and my energy levels, and I feel less stiff, less tense, and less miserable, honestly, and have greater capacity to be present and ability to focus and think more clearly. And also, the last few months have taught me to accept that I've been struggling for a long time with mental illness and disabilities. And my journey of slowing down and healing my nervous system has helped me accept that I do have complex trauma, that I do have debilitating anxiety and depression, that I do have autism and ADHD. And these are, yes, mental health labels, right, from the Western medicine and DSM, but learning about these neurodivergent conditions have really taught me to accept and like how to like work with my energy too. And let's see what else. And that my body really can't operate in a society that is overstimulating and runs on deadlines and timelines and urgency. And okay, let's see what else. And on top of that, I think it's important for me to like also, I've been reflecting a lot about my upbringing, being raised in an Asian patriarchal household and culture, where I was taught that expressing myself, expressing my emotions is shamed upon, led to a lot of emotional disharmony and dysregulation. And also being socialized as a woman, as an Asian woman, being taught to be selfless, being taught to put others before me, to be in service to others, being taught that caretaking and like giving my energy in this way, that's how I feel worthy, that's how I can like be important to other people. Like that shit also fucked me up and has led to a depletion of my life force energy. And so because I was taught to give away my power, I was taught to give away my autonomy. And so yeah, a lot of like that programming has led to a lot of like pent up anger and resentment and frustration that became physical tension in the body, in my body. And like that suppressed emotion, like suppressed anger has erupted in my intimate relationships. And so this retrograde has really taught me to reflect on these patterns and how I give away my energy unconsciously, through people pleasing. And what else? I also have to pee really bad, so I'm just gonna like wrap up my thoughts. A couple more thoughts. Okay, so and to turn to my loved ones and support system rather than self-isolate, because I have a tendency to like isolate myself in order to like self-regulate and like process my emotions. And from a Chinese medicine perspective, physical tension like chronic illness and diseases are thought to originate as first emotional disharmony and emotional suppression. And so, oh, my AI tracking is on for my camera. Okay, so let's see. Okay, I also have Mars in Cancer in the 12th house. And I feel like this placement is really teaching me about, it's about breaking generational patterns and cycles, ways that I and those before me have succumbed to our own emotional pain and suffering and became victims of it. And so what I'm learning in this retrograde is that I have to take ownership of my health, of my life, and it's through pouring into myself. It's through putting myself first and learning to listen to my body, understanding what my body needs in this moment, what my body is communicating to me through sensations, through emotions, about my unmet needs. And all this like internal harmony work has helped me tune in with my intuition and my own creative erotic power and my own desires, which is so huge for my lineage to be able to reclaim this life force creative erotic power. And yeah, it's through, this emotional alchemy work. Shout out to the ancestors, Qigong. That should change my life, because now I get to alchemize stagnation, depression, fear, all these limiting beliefs, so that I can make space for life force, clarity, and my happiness. Yeah, I really feel like part of my like soul's purpose is to like, oh my God, I'm getting emotional. Is to like really prioritize my happiness and joy and creativity. And and yeah, this energy work. I got my lashes done too, y'all. This energy healing cultivation work, has truly like changed my life. It strengthened my relationship with my intuition, with my own spirit. It grounded me in my purpose. And my role in the collective is to share my life experiences and the lessons that I've learned in this journey, and to teach healing modalities that I found helpful in my journey of getting out the funk, of getting out of depression spirals, because I feel like I've been there for so long, and I feel like I've finally learned to I've gotten a grip of it finally, and I'm like climbing out swimming out of the depth of my own emotional waves and ocean. And yeah, reclaiming life force and coming back to my center so that I can walk my divine path and do that, teach others these really like life-changing practical modalities of how to transmute heavy emotions and energy, so that we can tap in with our creativity, with our creative, with what wants to be expressed through us. And also so much what I'm hearing from other people too, of like this like journey of like loving and accepting ourselves. Like that has been a big part of the past few months too, of like embracing my unique expression, my charisma, my autism, the way I process and think, which I used to like, honestly, that's something I used to like hate about myself. It's like how I like think and how I'm unable to like communicate or like verbalize my thoughts. It's through this this deep self-love and self-acceptance of that this is all part of my soul's unique expression, and this is how I show up, and this is how I serve Spirit, God, Buddha, and the collective and the world. And that's what I got. Thanks.
Thank you, Flo, forever and always. You're perfect. Just resonating with a lot of things. And I just like, as you were talking about all the like Western pathology kind of names that you own, I was just thinking about like, yeah, and I feel like so many of us carry at least one of those, if not multiple of the ones that you named. And like that is a reflection of the society that we live in. And like you were naming some of those systems that like got you here, and I think got us here. And so I just think so much about like the way you show up in the world, the way you process. Like I love hearing you celebrate your process, because it is really medicine that you like let us in to how you transmute, how you alchemize, because like so many people have those same mental illnesses, yours truly included. And so to like have someone to look to who's like living out and working through and transmuting and alchemizing is like such powerful medicine for the world. And so thank you for like always pushing through some of that stuff you got to push through to get here. It's always just so powerful. And like, so I, at least if no one else, I'm always like, fuck yeah. And I know I'm not the only one, because everyone I talk to is like, yeah, protect flow at all costs. And I'm like, right. So thank you. Thank you. And last but certainly not the least, Midori.
Thank you. I'll keep my share kind of short because I feel like everybody covered everything that I was thinking. Like literally, I wrote a couple points. I was like, whoa, y'all already covered it. So a really big part of this has been for me and speaking to flow and like this reclamation of Chinese medicine, Taoism, Buddhism as ancestral traditions, spiritual traditions. I feel similarly. For me, reclaiming my life force during this Mars retrograde has been about understanding and embodying the Tao, because that is a spiritual tradition and just way of being that I really resonate with. And I think like this decolonization process of like, whoa, that's something that's been like in my lineage, like from the beginning, was so affirming, because I felt so opposite. I felt so othered. I felt so different from the status quo of like white supremacist capitalist patriarchy. Like I literally just thought there was something wrong with me my whole life until I discovered people within Soft Power, the founding team, Nathaniel, that mirrored back to me like, yo, you're not weird. Like it is inherently okay and normal to feel fucked up from the system. Like I was like, oh, cool. Like I'm not crazy. This is just like the way the cookie crumbles when you have all of these conditions in place to make you feel that way. So finding my people has been obviously big, but the Tao has been like, whoa, this is so transformative, because for me, and in like a very abstract conceptual way, it's like the pocket. And that's always like, when I think about an example of this is how I drive. I've gotten feedback from a lot of people on like how I drive. That's either they're freaked out or they like are like, whoa, I really see you. I see the way you move, because it's like the one space where I can like really move in an embodied way. And I have like this like control over this like vehicle. So when I drive, I always like, I almost like swear that I don't stop. Like stop signs are like, I like roll through the stop sign. Like I'll kind of just like see like where the pocket of the flow of the world is. And like, I know it's probably controversial to say, but straight up, like I'm always like, yeah, what is the path of least resistance? Like, what is the path that is like not going to be completely, I'm not going to be met with a ton of like hard edges. And that's really, it's the story within the Tao that I always come back to, of this butcher that butchers a cow in one swoop with his knife. And that's how I see my life now, is like, it's not about being conflict avoidant. It's not about being avoiding what needs to like come up. It's really about like, how do I approach this in flow, and then holding the yin and yang. So how do I hold boundaries, but also the unbridled flow of the pocket of creativity? How do I honor emergence, but also need structure? How do I, say that I'm in soft power, but when hard power is needed, I can fucking cut a bitch. Like it's not either or. Like soft power, the reason why we say soft power is because it's what is needed to balance the current state of where we're at as a collective. It's like there's been so much hard power. There's been so much violence and like affliction that I'm like, oh, I really like, this is what is needed. We are here in this time for this specific purpose. And that's what I always ground myself into in my life. And what has helped me reclaim my life force as a like general philosophy of how I move in the world is like, how do I move fluidly in times that want to make me literally want to start and stop and be distracted and look in 50 million different directions? How do I stay focused? How do I like have that laser that like Nathaniel was talking about? How do I know my strategy, my why so well that it's that the distractions aren't going to distract me as much, you know? And there's like certain times where distractions really are something that like helps me go deeper into my path and like go deeper into alignment and like seeing it that way. But yeah, the Tao really has been something, and like in general, always like turning back to like to history to see what can I pull on that has worked, because scientifically that shit has kept them alive for thousands of years. And so how do I translate that into something that's going to work for this current moment? So yeah, that's my answer.
Wow, a whole word. Deeply resonating with that. And like, you know, as people, Midori and I both have some pretty intense like oppositions in our charts. And that can be very like extreme one way or the other. And just like thinking so much about like how balancing and like finding the middle path is a way to like harness the power of like those both of the energies at all times, and like what is what is created from that, the real magic that can be created when we can like be in the middle and like like wield it all. So man, that was just, yeah, what a beautiful way to close us out and thinking about Mars retrograde. If you're a part of our village, would love to see your responses in our Discord of like this question too, of what lessons have you been learning through this Mars retrograde. Would love to just like hear what other reflections are coming up in our community. So please feel free and empowered to like throw some stuff in our Discord channel, and so we can engage with each other and just like keep these lessons going and keep being mirrors for one another and supporting one another through these challenging times. And we'll have a QR code that'll pop up at the end. So if you're not a part of our village, you can get involved. Also, if you're someone who has a couple dollars to throw our way for the support that we provide, you can also follow the QR code to do that, to support our vision. We offer everything for free always, and that will continue to be what we do. And we've got a lot of great events happening this week. And we have choir tonight. We have a soul spa on Thursday. Also coming up next week, Flo is going to be having a really dope event where you can come dance with her and a DJ. And we'll get into some movement practice. It's going to be really, really super fun. So make sure that you're plugged into us, following us off on Substack or in our Discord so that you can know about those cool happenings. And with that, I pray everyone really is able to tap into the last lessons of this Mars retrograde, and remembering that like moving slow in an urgent world is resistance, and also remembering that resistance is resistance, and all the ways that we step into our own power against these systems of oppression is unbinding those spells. And so, you know, just praying that we all tap into that creative power. And we are here if you need support, if you need a container, if you need whatever you need, that's what we're here for. So please reach out individually if you need anything. And I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your week. Yeah, much love. Farewell.